için değil. Ama bu defa onları yerle bir etmek için buradayım.
Her şey bitti. Çok geç kaldı bu savaşa. Beni orada The mythical beasts fall. Wildcats roar.
Alles stand in Flammen. Aber jetzt ist die Zeit für Rache.
Napotkałem na swojej drodze wiele trudności, jednak tym razem nic mnie nie powstrzyma. Quiero demostrar al resto que es un momento brillar.
On vous a manqué. Il est temps de reprendre ce qui nous appartient.
Welcome back, one and all, to the EMEA Masters here, 2023 summer. I am Just Ushin. I am joined in a very different environment by Dagda, as he had a little bit of internet trouble. He had to get a couple of chopping and changing, but you're here and you're set up.
yeah, I'm here in the LEC studio. The back room's going to give you a backstage tour later on, you know, make it all worthwhile. But this is but yeah, still glad I could be here despite brilliant internet's best attempts to try and take me out.
Yeah, they have to nerf you somehow, man. Dagatron exists at all facets of his life. But obviously, we're coming into day 4 as the final day of the group stage. We're going to be covering Group D here over on this channel. If you want to cover on, I believe it is Group A, I believe it is. I could be wrong on that. B, thank you so much to our producer. Group B is going to be on twitch.tv/ESLOL. So do check those out if you do want to see those games. But we got to talk about what happened yesterday. My voice is just kind of recovered because we started off incredibly standard and then we just went absolutely off the rails for the last few games, even forcing a tiebreaker.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you end up with Karmine Corp and Natives needing to face off against each other to find out who was going, but what an absolute barn burner of a day. The fact that you end up in that situation where two teams have to duke it out. And I mean, it kind of felt like for Karmine Corp, we were kind of looking going, oh yeah, this is the team to watch in this group, but Mako Esports managed to take that top spot as well. Like, this group had so much that it delivered.
I mean, this is a historic moment for Matchgo as well, because Matchgo now becoming the first non-LFL team to go 6-0 in the current stage of the EMEA Masters, and how it kind of goes for it. It's only been LFL to go 6-0 before in groups, and now they kind of join themselves. The Wildcats did do that as well in the other group later on, but they did it first, and that's all that matters. But I mean, look, again, like kind of obviously we're focusing on our group, but on the other side of this one as well, we had Group A. We had the LPLOL making the quarterfinals for the first time with GTZ Esports.
Yeah, I mean, incredible performance from GTZ Esports. I mean, even when we saw them come in on day number 1, we're like, hang on a second, this is a team that is putting up massive wins against Bison's E-Club. Like, even being able to take down the Ultra League and Orbit Anonimo as well. Like, they looked fantastic. And I'm delighted to see that, as you see, like, a lot of these smaller regions that in the past we would have kind of overlooked, now with Matchco now as well with GTZ, stepping up massively and putting their region on the map.
That's the thing as well. Like, we're looking at a very, normally when we come into the EMEA Masters, there is, generally speaking, a kind of a trend. Usually it's LFL, if I'm being totally honest, kind of getting multiple teams into that last 8. They may still get 3 teams. That's not kind of, change that one up there, but we're getting much more diversity, and it is kind of becoming a thing now where teams are starting to step up. And speaking of stepping up, Natives forcing out the tiebreaker here. It went all the way to the final game because they tried their absolute hardest. It was a little bittersweet because they played so well, but it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Natives gave Karmine Corp such a good run for their money, I mean, says a lot about both. Well, we're going to put it out there. The Irish team, we're delighted to see them do it,
lads.
But also kind of the NLC as well being able to step up. But it is a bit of heartbreak for them where they weren't quite able to take down Karmine Corp. But I think a lot of people are kind of looking to see, wait a second, Karmine Corp are bleeding. So I think as we start to move in towards the rest of the tournament, I mean, teams are probably going to be looking at that KC lineup a little bit different, especially with Matchco taking top of the Group C.
Yeah, absolutely. Matchco going 6-0, better than their spring finish of 5-1. Still topping the group regardless of that. And of course, that means we have PG Nats, LFL. We also had Group A finishing up with the TCL and the LPLOL now all getting a representative here into our next stage, which is going to be quarterfinals knockouts. So different beasts when you go into those best of fives. We'll see if Matchco can kind of keep up that momentum. But we're going to kind of be looking towards today, where we got Group B over on twitch.tv/ESLOL. And of course, we have ourselves Group D, which is a little bit of a muddy mess right now. There's a lot of names here that a lot of people are kind of saying, hey, if these don't make it up to the quarterfinals, that's a failure in this organization's eyes.
I mean, especially when you look at UOL Sexy Edition, right? This was a team that hit finals last split, and we're kind of expecting to go, right, like step up once more, but they haven't been able to really find their footing. They've been way over aggressive in a lot of their games, and it's now come back to bite them 1-2 there. And you're looking at teams like Movistar Riders, like Team Go as well, who've been incredibly impressive, and now looking to see if they can try and step up and take UOL out before we even get to the playoff situation.
And that's it. Now we're going to be covering the first 3 games of the day, and then you're going to be joined by Initialize and Nymera. They're going to be taking the second half of the games. But I mean, this is starting to become one of our closer groups. There's only one series, kind of one game separating the top 2 from the bottom 2. It's 2-1, 2-1 for Team Go and Movistar Riders, with 1 and 2 there for NASR Esports Turkey and Unicorns and Love Sexy Edition. So this is where the mud, again, like I always say, that when the water gets muddy, when the way doesn't become super clear of how you kind of qualify, you end up having to kind of take every game as it is. Just you have to win that game. You can't afford to be dropping maps this early on, or even kind of set up now in the group.
Especially when you look at it's not like there's a clean victor, right? It's kind of like we've had Movistar Rider take Team Go, who then lost to NASR, who then it's a bit of that rock, paper, scissors seems to be happening to a certain extent in this group as well. So you don't really know what way it's going to go. I still think Team Go coming into this do look the strongest. They didn't end up, throwing to a certain extent the game that they had against Movistar Riders, and Movistars were very happy to pick that one up. But now coming into this, I want to see if maybe Movistar Riders later on in the day can have that same success against Team Go once more. But they have to start us off with our first game of the day against NASR, and I think that's where they can at least get themselves on the right footing. If they win this game 3-1, suddenly knocking teams down to 1-3, it makes things significantly easier for Movistar Riders.
And that's the thing as well. I love that you bring that up. Kind of getting that first foot forward here from Movistar Riders, getting yourselves up onto 3 wins. It kind of almost guarantees you at minimum a tiebreaker. There is still a world where we get ourselves a 4-way tiebreaker, but I'm sure production will not want to talk about that just yet. But I mean, again, this was kind of the first game last time as well on day number 2 here of the EMEA Masters group stages. This was kind of NASR's moment, and they did kind of take them to the sword, and they really punished a lot of just very small, easy to make mistakes coming out here from Movistar.
And I think a lot of that is coming down to people like Skorth, right? Skorth has been stepping up massively as a very aggressive carry in the lane. And especially when we looked at them domestically, we are looking at Whistle, who was kind of the main damage dealer for this squad. 31% of the team's damage in the regular season over in the TCL. But now that he's kind of shifted away from being able to get his hands on the Tristana and the Azir, and he's been forced back onto these melee carries like the Silas, the Yone, and the Yasuo, it is kind of hasn't been working out as well for NASR, so it has relied on Skorth to try and be that big carry to step up and provide the damage that they need. And it's kind of become this role reversal, where Skorth was doing his job, but now he is the one that's putting out massive amount of this team's damage, and a huge amount of this team's success now relies on, right, can we get Skorth ahead in the bot lane and then set him up to be the carry?
That's the big thing. Like you said, they kind of got put off kilter. They weren't really comfortable on these big melees in the mid. They've been relying more on Skorth in that bot side just to try and make things work. But again, it did feel like once they were kind of found out from that, it did feel like Movistar Riders were kind of very, I wouldn't say unprepared, but definitely weren't expecting the sheer amount of kind of, go coming out here from the side of NASR Esports in that first series. And now kind of coming back into this next matchup, I want to see what they've come prepared with. I want to see something different here from Movistar Riders to, again, kind of solidify themselves up. If you go down and all of a sudden it's a 2-2, 2-1, 2-2 situation, you're starting to really worry about your own chances, because there's a lot of really good teams in this group.
Yeah, I think a huge amount of this game is going to be a case of, as you say, try and contain Skorth. I think they did get caught off guard, especially as up in that bot lane for Movistar Riders. The fact that he ended up giving over that solo kill, I mean, it was a sick play from Skorth, don't get me wrong. Actually reminded me a little bit of, since you're the LPL man, the Ruler-esque play where he flashes in with his Xayah feathers and that. But still, it's like, he was well aware that he had this aggression he could play for, and I think a huge amount of that is going to rely on Isma here from Movistar Riders. The fact that Isma has been playing so heavily around this bottom lane, like trying to set up Suka for success, and then linking up with Alvaro come the mid game and like putting pressure towards the mid lane as well, has been so incredibly crucial for this squad. And I think we're going to continue to see this, where Isma wants to put the pressure here on this bottom side and make sure that there's no room for error and there's no way that NASR can try and get this early lead.
Yeah, and of course we're seeing the kind of the situations here. The funny thing is, all that bot lane focus did actually lead to NASR getting themselves the win, regardless of how Isma kind of went for it. But on the Sejuani, it does feel like it's kind of just a comfort pick for junglers in general. It's just something that you have to be able to play alongside pretty much everything in the meta right now, the Iverns, the Maokais, because it's just that constant setup, that constant engage, and is just so powerful in that early stages that you can never really give it up. You can't really just say, look, oh, we're fine to let this one go, because it will punish you if you're not too careful.
Yeah, and I think it's even with the nerfs on patch 13-15, the fact that teams are still willing to go for it says a lot about how strong this pick is, both from a comfort perspective, but also then just being able to play around a lot of these a lot of the mid laners and being able to set up with that ultimate, provide that front line that you really need. And also, I just want to give a shout out to Alvaro on this lineup. I have been so incredibly impressed with this support, and I'm really, really excited to see how he's going to play here today. As you said, I think they got caught out a little bit last time up against NASR, and I'm really excited to see now if Alvaro can try and have the performance that he's had in the remaining 2 games, like even up against Team Go, these big engages, get his hands on the Rakan, and try and control that bot lane in favor of Movistar Riders.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, just a quick reminder to our audience, we are going to be exclusively covering Group D over on this channel. If you want to watch how Group E is going with BK Rog, I believe SK Gaming Prime and Desire over from the PG Nats over on that side, that is on twitch.tv/ESLOL. So do check that one out if you want to try and see those games. But giving all our focus and energy here, I think NASR Esports, I kind of feel like they have a little bit of kind of proven this one here, because after beating Movistar Riders in the first kind of round robin, they feel like they maybe could have gotten a bit more, but they got a bit smashed, if I'm being totally honest, after that. So it doesn't look great for the TCL if you're kind of a one region team, and I feel like they're going to be kind of on the kind of front foot to say, look, we are not just a one region team, we are not just the Istanbul Wildcats, we need to be counted as well.
Yeah, I think the big one is trying to get some comfort for Whistle for NASR. Like, if you can try and get Trans, well, they're actually going to ban the Tristana, but like just Tristana, the Azir, these kind of things that were working successfully in the, I would say, the regular season, didn't have the best of win rates in the playoffs, but I definitely think like playing back towards that style is going to work out way better. Like even had a 75% win rate on the Tristana, but realistically, looking maybe like they'll get the Azir, but with the LeBlanc, Maokai, Rumble, Talia, Tristana all gone, it's still, you get to see picks like the Rel and that sort of stuff starting to line up here nicely for a first pick.
Yeah, and kind of giving a respect over to Isma and his engage abilities to be able to kind of enable his team, getting rid of that Nocturne on first rotation. We'll see what the Movistar Riders want to go for here on a first rotation. I highly doubt it will be the Seraphine, but the Kaisa makes a hell of a lot more sense.
Yeah, I'm curious though, because we've seen that like Skorth has been very, very good on the Xayah, and the fact you will take the Kaisa means you will end up giving the Xayah over, more than likely going to be the pick, perfect setup. And then you could even take away the Rakan here for patch as well. Like a Xayah Rakan in the bot lane works fantastically, but also removes Alvaro from that pick. I will say maybe you don't want to do that in case you want to take the Rakan here, but I wouldn't be surprised to see then Alvaro take away the Alistair on the opposite side, take that into the support role, and you can probably still get the Rakan on that third rotation.
Yeah, I feel like maybe you want to go for the next premier jungler here. Could go for an Ivern if they're really feeling it. Has not been banned, but something that you would kind of have to work around. You don't really just pick an Ivern because he covers all positions. He's kind of like, we're going for a very specific type of team comp, and the Rel makes an awful lot more sense. You get that flex here for Typhoon and for Patch, and you're able to kind of figure it out a little bit later in draft.
Yeah, I mean, Isma more than likely going to go back towards what has been working from the Sejuani. Already said, big comfort pick there. There is an argument for the Poppy. You can see him hovering it, but I think you can just take the Alistair instead. You still get like good engage from your Alistair, good follow-up on the Sejuani, but also then just the disengage for that Rel CC, which is super, super nice. It does mean you'll probably see a Rakan coming through on that next rotation for NASR, but across the board, you're pretty happy if you can just slot the Rel in. Okay, not going to be a support pick.
Not going to be a support pick. They're happy to give the Ari to the mid lane right now and just get him set up and sorted. It does mean that for NASR, you are kind of put in a situation here where you feel like you have to go for your mid. That does end up getting locked in, so we are seeing a tit for tat in both sides, but it does mean that you're going to maybe see some of those things banned away, much like the Rakan, which I expect to be banned away by Movistar now that the Alistair's taken away.
Yeah, the Alistair, good answer here, because we already talked about it. The rail setup, you don't really want to have any problems. Even just the headbutt can interrupt things like the Nico ultimate as well. So I think you're kind of looking at NASR going, all right, well, you're playing for this sort of all-in aggression. I'd be surprised to not see Typhoon take the rail into the jungle now with that Nico setup. Like, I don't really feel like you want to go towards, I don't know, like the Ivern or anything along those lines. So I think you're pretty happy just going for your own. Maybe even the Rakan, as we say, for NASR on this next rotation, especially with the Blitzcrank ban. It feels like they're going to be taking to something a little bit squishier down.
Yeah, it looks like Movistar happy to let the Rakan go, give that Lovers duo over if they so please, and they take away the Viego as their last ban. They also get rid of the Cassante, so decent kind of top lane focus here into Fabulous, as he's not able to get himself the Rumble or the Cassante in this game. Might look towards the Poppy himself. That means that Rel, technically it's still a double flex. You could have that Poppy go jungle, Rel go into support, or the Rel jungle, the Poppy go top. There's actually a bit of movement here available for NASR.
Yeah, and I think that's what they're trying to keep open here. Just make sure that you're able to go, right, what exactly is the game plan here? Also, just the Poppy is so good against pretty much everything the Movistar have on the board right now. So I wouldn't be surprised even to just see that hop into the top lane and just go, cool, like, what are you going to bring out that's really going to be able to do much against this Poppy? And then you already got great engage setup and everything else. It also makes, like, one of the big things that I've noticed about NASR is that they are capable, like, they will start to fall behind early, like, even when you look at them domestically. But there's, oh, sorry, actually, no, sorry, I'm getting myself confused. But NASR, anyway, it doesn't matter. They still have a really strong team fight coming up here. And even if you come in a little bit late to the party for dragon fights and that, Poppy ult is still so good at just isolating these team fights for them.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, look, the Poppy, I mean, everybody's got some kind of dash right now on the side of Movistar. There's really kind of a real strong argument, I would say, to put that Poppy into the jungle and just kind of say, look, you're going to be around the map. You're going to be getting those 4v4s, those 3v3s, just kind of constantly being a nuisance with that steadfast presence. And the Malphite gets locked in here for Fabulous. So they've got themselves a very hard engaged composition. You get caught out by one thing, you're getting caught out by everything.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised by the Malphite though, because usually you see him go into very AD heavy compositions, right? It's kind of his whole
it's almost the opposite
stick. But yeah, exactly. You're getting like AP damage from Kai'Sa. Like, yes, you will probably see the more AD heavy build with Kraken Slayer and that, but still you're mixed damage. And same when you look towards even Sejuani, when you look towards the Ahri. So the only real AD heavy person there is your Gnar. So I wasn't going to be fully surprised if we saw the Aatrox. That's still an old school counter. Or even if you wanted to just go for something like an Ornn and just go, look, I will lose lane as gracefully as possible and then play for late game fights. The Malphite just seems a little bit strange, but we'll have to see if we can still get those big engages off. That's all that really matters at the end of the day.
That's the thing. We obviously talked about how, you know, the Movistar comp wants to try and dash in, get all that kind of stuff like that. But if you are able to get this big AoE team comp of, you know, just kind of wombo combo in an unstoppable force into a gravity field, into a pop blossom, into, you know, so many different things that can just help up. You can even get a multi-man knockup from the Keeper's Verdict if you really wanted to. So there's so many ways of kind of locking down multiple members of the side of Movistars. However, if you are getting caught out, I feel like Movistars have such great single target tools to just kind of burst somebody out who's a little bit out of line, especially with things like the Kai'Sa being able to shotgun themselves into the back line.
Yeah, I think a lot of this is going to be trying to get control over the mid jungle with the Ahri and the Sejuani, and then trying to lean that into the Kai'Sa on the bottom side of the map, because Kai'Sa is going to be your main source of damage. If she doesn't fire on all cylinders, well, you have real backup cylinders to come through. So I'm definitely looking at Movistar and Isma, as we already talked about, like, play around Supa, get him into a good spot, and just make sure that Squirth can have the same performances that we saw last time these two teams faced.
Oh, we're jumping onto the Rift. We'll see how everything kind of goes. Unfortunately, I believe our overlay is broken. That's why we have a slightly older one on the top hand there. But look, this is why we have backups. If we don't fire on all cylinders, we've got some backup cylinders, and that's all that matters.
Mad for the cylinders. So
we love our cylinders, sir, don't we? Like, sure, you'd be mad not to love the cylinders. Sorry, I have to get the Irish idioms out while I get you, because you've been Berlinified. You know, going.
I know. I haven't been home in so long.
I know. It's been a fair few months. Hopefully, we'll see you soon. You know, your mammy called. She misses you. But
don't worry, she's been calling me consistently.
I have no doubt in my mind.
Irish mammies are always there.
Irish mammies will always take a call, be it rain nor shine. But going back into this particular game, obviously we can see how this level 1 goes. I don't expect there to be much happening until we get that first clear coming out on the top side here from Typhoon. I like to take this away from Jamada from Nymera. Once from you know, the Poppy hits level 3, she is good to go. She kind of has access to everything she could possibly need, and that's when we do tend to see this Poppy get very aggressive very quickly.
Yeah, I think it's still going to be a little bit tough for Typhoon to really make things work until the, I'd say, later portion of the games, just because it's simply, well, Fabulous doesn't really offer you much in the top side. Whistle does offer some CC, but it's so difficult to try and lock down the Ahri in the early stages, especially after she hits level 6. And then even when you look towards the bottom side of the map as well, you're highly reliant on Patch getting some sort of big engage off, but it's not always the easiest with Alvaro there. And I imagine Isma as well going to be sitting down in the spot side. Like, even looking at Isma's clear at the moment, this 3-camp bot side looks like he's either going to go for some sort of invade onto the bottom side into Poppy's face, or is actually going to look for a gank in the bot lane. But with the bot lane positioned as it is, I think this is going to be invade for Isma.
Yeah, it definitely looks like they're going to try and use that priority in the bot side and maybe just put in some kind of pressure here. I will say, though, Typhoon's kind of done a decent time of reading enough on this and kind of says to drop the ward. He's taking away a Gromp, so we should be able to hit level 3 even if his blue buff gets taken away. So he's not in the worst of positions. We'll now have perfect information of where Isma is. Isma will also know where he is. And there we go. Level 3 gets hit up here. And I like the idea that Isma's going for here, but a great read by Typhoon.
Yeah, I mean, Typhoon defends well, but I also think it was a case of Supa and Alvaro not quite being able to get that bot lane push in as much as they'd like. Now Whistle in trouble.
Yeah, Whistle has to flash. He knows that if he gets caught up by any kind of CC, he's done. But I mean, look at this crazy invade right now. They're going with the full bot side. They've even got the Kai'Sa here, and you're isolated. He had to flash away, and this is the Movistar early game that we were talking about in the pregame.
Especially if Movistar can now separate this map, like, it's going to make it so difficult for Squirth and Patch to really get much control. Alvaro will spot them out, but level 3 versus level 2, this is actually a little bit risky. Even Typhoon's coming back around.
Yeah, they're coming back around for this one. Whistle doesn't have flash. There's a flash charm available. Flash in to try and catch out on this one here. The hook goes wide, and ooh, Alvaro, we were only singing your praises, but you may have gone a little touch too far. One more auto, and he will be first blooded. That's going over to NASR, and again, I like what Movistar were doing. They just stayed too long.
Yeah, way too long, especially when you saw that the wave and bot lane had been pushed out. You were down a level. There was no way that you were really going to be able to fight that with that level advantage. So Squirth and Patch kind of realized that, move over, covered the invade, and you pick up that kill on Alvaro, which now leaves Supa in a really bad spot because, I mean, look where the wave is, right? He can't even touch this. Great freeze for the NASR bot lane, and you just kind of got to sit here and wait as you try and catch up on levels and gold.
Again, this is the kind of, you get overconfident. We've actually seen this exact play the last time around. Isma trying to run in on top of Whistle. Will get the knock up. Will get a flash charm in. Will he have the damage? Yes, he will. Nice response here. Even Isma getting out with his life is going to be perfect here to get Movistar back on track.
Yeah, nicely done there. I thought that Isma might take another tower shot, but just playing the edge of it there. Manages to get the kill onto Whistle, and good repeat gank. Realizes that the flash was down from that earlier play, so immediately gets back into the mid lane and gets something back for that Movistar side.
Alvaro's still level 2. This is so rough. There we go. I can see him there. Gotta go, and please, I just want my full kit until 6. That's all I want, but good to see him kind of going for this one here. Interesting enough, we are seeing both TPs now moved into that mid lane, so they will not have that access to them again. Look, with the way the TP works and the way the game is working, not really expected to see them going many places outside of that lane. And I like the respect coming out here from the Ahri as well, getting himself a bit of Merc Treads, a little bit of early tenacity just in case he gets caught up.
Yeah, definitely a nice one up against what is going to be a bit of a horrible time if you end up getting caught up by Whistle's CC, but even just the fact that you get that early magic resistance from them is super nice. I wouldn't be surprised to see Freskowski and Isma, sorry, even making a little bit more pressure towards his mid lane rather than the other way around, but we'll have to see his Isma up on this top side now, just making sure that Marquis can crash this wave and get himself a reset on the first rotation.
You steal a camp, I steal a camp. Junglers having a better time of just taking their opponent's side of the field than they are of their own. We are going to see maybe a dive coming in here. Level 6 has been hit, but Marquis not going to be able to get it off on time. They're going to go for the full dive. No real mana here for Fabulous, and that means he's going to go down. Nicely done there. Nicely juggled, but they've got the Poppy coming. Typhoon might look to try and get this one. It's going to be difficult. I don't know if he really wants to commit to it. Yeah, I even think he realized that if he gets caught up by a boomerang, he's just going to end up getting killed.
Yeah, I think he was hoping that he'd actually get over the wall, and then if you can maybe get the charge into the wall there. You can actually set yourself up, especially having the steadfast presence. It makes it very hard for Isma to really get involved, but with the fact that couldn't quite get the distance, Marky was able to walk on out. So at least it's an attempt, but again, like Isma, we kind of highlighted that this is the guy that needs to step up and be all over the place. And at the moment, I mean, gets the play, does end up messing up a little bit on the jungle invade, but gets 2 kills now for both his mid and top side. And if you can continue this pressure now with the Ari hitting 6, like try and get her on the roam at the bottom side of the map, this is where I think you can start to snowball this game as Movistar and like take control.
Yeah, he's been all over the place, but in a good way, as he makes his way around the map. But Isma now on the bot side here. You can see Typhoon's doing a very good job of just being aggressive, constantly putting down vision. We're only level 5 here for the bot laners. We might see them go for something here. Supa not quite able to move forward onto this one here. And yeah, that's an easy kill to be picked up here by Skorth. And honestly, NASR, they're coming in strong onto this one here. This is starting to see, again, kind of similar vibes to the first game these two guys played.
A great read by Typhoon and the team there. I mean, you already know that his bot side is going to be coming back up because he had to go for the reset. So you want to try and go for your most high value camps on that bottom end of the map. So Typhoon reads it, sets up perfectly with Skorth and Patch off the reset. And now you're in a position where you get the kill, you get Dragon, and your own bot side camps are going to be up as well. I will say you might just reset off of this and go immediately for his red, which will spawn on the top side, but really good play there from Typhoon.
Really well done. Okay, look, you got the first dragon here for NASR. Let's kind of look towards the next few minutes for them, because it's been a pretty decent early game. It's still even on the gold, but where do you want to see from these two teams as level 6s start to get hit across the board?
For NASR, I think just keep doing the same thing, right? Trying to play around this bottom side, make sure that Skorth is able to keep himself in good space. Like, he's 2 kills now for himself. He's going to be able to get another plate for himself off this wave as well. So Skorth is going to set up really well for these fights. And we already kind of talked about how good he's been when he get these leads and playing aggressive with them. So I don't mind that Typhoon is kind of hovering around this bottom side. On the opposite one, Isma, I think you need to start playing more around this mid lane and trying to lean Frescovi into that bot side, because if you don't have control with your mid jungle, you're just going to fall behind in the 3v3 because Skorth has so much extra damage.
Looking at that Xayah, 2 kills already. Going to be so far accelerated, getting that Kraken Slayer so damn early. Typhoon, he has been like a Typhoon right now. He's actually a little bit caught out on vision. They kind of know that something is up as he moves forward on top of it, but yeah, they know he's there, but they're not really going to be able to kill him, and they're still losing huge amounts of wave. I'm loving this pressure.
Oh, look at Whistle, though. They're bringing more members down here as NASR. I really like this from NASR. Like, they are playing this incredibly well at the moment. Like, we were talking about Isma getting good control in the early stages, but he's kind of realized now that with the amount of control that NASR have on the spot side, he can't be here. He's trying to make trades onto the top side, maybe look for a Whistle as he comes back into lane.
And again, they're kind of just saying, look, we don't need to overstay our welcome. We got a 10 CS lead effectively out of that play. So we're able to kind of move back and kind of get that reset off. It's going to be a really, really nice buy here, I imagine, for the Xayah, who should almost certainly, yep, there it is, the Kraken Slayer and a dagger just for good measure. But I mean, just having such a great time with the bot side. And the thing is as well, they picked the Malphite because, like, as you've probably seen from observers, we've only gone there once. That was when the Malphite just died because of a dive. He's now level 6. He's going to be totally fine with his Balmy Cinder to just keep kind of soaking up that pressure. And all he needs is levels. He's not really a resource-intensive champion.
Yeah, which is why I think this Rift Herald is going to go immediately down to the bottom side. Like, I think you try to look to unlock this Ari so she can lean into the bot lane as well. But you can even see them leading here with Alvaro. So maybe with a potential play in the mid lane, or at least help to crash that wave. And then I think you just 4-man onto bot side. Skorth still has Flash, Cleanse, and ulti, so I'd be very surprised if they go for any sort of dive. But at least being able to get some sort of resources back into Supa's pocket is going to be so crucial for this.
We'll wait and see how everyone wants to kind of go for right now. Just good moves, no deaths for the last little bit, but good movement from NASR. And Movistar Riders, they're going to be feeling the pressure just a little bit. Even Alvaro kind of going to that mid lane. He's 4 levels down. Like, he really would love to have that level 6 ASAP, but just hasn't really had an opportunity to kind of sit in a lane and absorb, you know, kind of farm or anything like that. No XP for him, so he's really struggling, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, not having the best of times, especially with the amount of pressure that's been down onto this bot end of the map, and trying to match with Isma in a lot of situations when it's just kind of Typhoon who's sitting on his own, and then Patch has been able to soak up a little bit of that XP. And you can see the difference now, because you don't have that level 6 in the Nautilus, you're way less likely to try and match the 3v3 both in mid and bot side as well. And that means that even looking at the map now, Supa needs a reset, because a potential crash of this wave and he could end up being dove on. Like, you know that NASR have a ton of control of this bot side jungle.
The thing is as well is that he didn't want to leave because he knows that this wave would just be completely lost. He's already starting to fall behind, but he needs to get his static shiv ASAP. He needs to try and get that first item. So already we're starting to see these small little incremental advantages. It's basically dead even. Not even basically, it is dead even as we can see them now going forward. Not going to quite get it. Oh, the crash down though is good, and they get on top of him as well. Scored picks that one up. It all came from that bot lane priority. You highlighted it. The Xayah gets there first.
Yes, the second they saw that Super stuck around, they were like, fantastic, we know we have those advantages. And now this is a disaster. The fact that Isma's using this on top, it's just like, look, that tower's low, at least we'll get something, but it's so difficult for an R in this position to really stand out as your big carry. Like, you can't really play into things like the Nico, even into Typhoon as well. It makes that engage incredibly hard for the R. And I think it's kind of just them saying, look, we will get something here, but we're not going to be able to try and hold on to this Rift Tower for like the Dragon in 30 seconds and look to try and make some sort of play off of that. So honestly, I think it's more than likely going to be a case of Movistar Riders going, okay, we will push mid into like attempting to take the tier 2 on top in response to the amount of pressure that NASR are able to have on this bottom side of the map.
I'm loving how NASR are playing this map right now. Cool, calm, collected. 25 CS lead in the mid lane, 10 CS lead in the bot side with 3 kills to boot. They're getting engages off. They're burning off summoners as well and really just playing this well. 3 kills onto this Xayah is kind of monstrous, to be perfectly honest. And now they move forward here, moving towards this dragon. They know they could maybe look for a soul win condition, potentially in a mountain, potentially in infernal. It also could potentially be a Chemtech, but look, you'll take a 66% chance of it being a good soul.
Yeah, I think the actual saving grace here for Movistar is though Skorth hasn't really spent a lot of that gold. You're still sitting like 1 item complete on both sides, but NASR just in a better position here. Are going to be able to set up Whistle, Spotted going back towards mid. Isma's maybe looking for something.
I don't think you can find us, to be honest. It's just hard. It's just going to see what they can go from there. We have a double overlay as we come back in here, as again, just Skorth not able to spend that gold, like you said. So he's kind of very much item parity for the moment, until he's able to kind of reset and get himself set up on the map. But we're already seeing an engage up the top side. Whistle getting caught out here. No flash and completely isolated means they're able to donate that one over to Supa. And that's just a pretty easy kill there from Movistar. And honestly, again, Whistle just not kind of respecting where the rest of the map is.
Yeah, I mean, this will give Supa at least a little bit of a plate gold in mid lane, like 20 seconds until plates drop, so he'll only be able to pick up 1, even having Fabulous come across to grab that. But Whistle dying, massive mistake. You had gotten the dragon, you'd really nullified any big advantage that Isma had been able to get off the Rift Herald. Then giving that kill over just gives that gold over into the hands of Supa, which is making sure that this curry that needs to step up for Movistar Riders has a bit more gold to try and do just that.
Let's have a look at the replay here, because again, I think he's on a ward and he doesn't respect it at all. He just gets caught.
Yeah, I mean, there's not even a point to try and check River there, right? Like, there's no real benefit to knowing if Movistar are in River or not in River. Like, it doesn't affect your game plan. So just a mistake there from Whistle and gets punished nicely by Movistar. And I mean, the power of that Nautilus at level 6, if you overextend even a little bit, they're going to be able to follow up so well, especially with Isma again in a position to follow up.
Oh, Whistle, man, he's just not having a good time right now. That's going to be so easy to confirm. 3rd time's the charm. You will learn your lesson eventually, and I mean, honestly, these are the things that are kind of plaguing NASR right now. These small little mistakes. There's no real, no reason for Whistle to go for that. He's playing weak side.
Oh, another face check again.
Oh, I mean, it's all full of face checks right now. They're going to trade back a support here for a mid laner. You got Fabulous here off to the side, not spotted on a ward just yet. Isma gonna walk forward and now get hit by the ultimate and get himself a seismic shard as well. Has been slowed down just a little bit, but does end up flashing and get himself to safety. It's starting to feel like it's kind of who throws further, to be perfectly honest, because now they're looking for Marky, who has no Meganar, and he's gonna probably have to flash away if he can, but they're going to get the root down, and you are just so susceptible to damage in the Mininar. Oh, it's mistake after mistake, Dagda.
I mean, the amount of damage Skorth has right now is obscene. I think Infinity Edge going to be on the way as well with the Kraken Slayer already there. Like, you use the CC from the feather pullback and you still have enough damage to just immediately rip through Marky. The good news, though, for at least Movistar Riders side is that you did get Friskowski on that bot side to actually get that bot lane turret. Or, sorry, should be able to get that bot lane turret in response, but NASR are now picking up their first Rift Herald. They can probably crack up a mid lane. They're even in a position now, because Movistar Riders invested so many members to this bottom side, to trade tower for tower. So NASR is still trading heavily out in favor each time.
Fabulous is going to cover this one here. I actually think he defends it pretty damn well as well. Not going to be able to get any more CC down. On top of it, Isma just clearing out the rest of the wave. They should be able to get it on the next push, but like you said, it is just a trade-off on either side of the map. Bot lane for the side of Movistar, top lane for the side of NASR. And this is where the game gets a little bit more interesting, because we're actually seeing a bit more of a commitment here on the top lane on the side of NASR as they look to try and maybe take a tier 2, but they don't want to overstay their welcome.
Yeah, I think the Rift Tower was a bit overkill. I think with Marky being the only one that was still standing up there, you could have held onto the Rift Tower and used that in mid lane. But still, I mean, good damage onto the tier 2. You're still able to answer, and you're in a position where if you can actually get some sort of control on that top side, you can easily move Whistle in behind the mid lane tier 1 and try and make some sort of dive happen, especially if you crack open that tier 2 on the top side.
That is a 2-item Xayah at just under 17 minutes.
Yeah.
The very quick blades gets finished up, and yeah, double Evan Shroud as well means that you're going to be feeling pretty good in these situations as you look to try and kind of, enable this Nico and Xayah combination. The game kind of goes back into a little bit of a lull state. It's a 400 gold lead for the side of Movistar Rider, but outside of that, NASR got themselves 2 dragons, so they're not feeling too shook up about it. Is a Chem Soul, which has been unfortunate there for NASR, but I mean, you've got a Rel and a Malphite. They would benefit very much so from having an extra kind of survivability of 50% HP.
Yeah, at this stage, at least Movistar have a decent control over mid lane. Like, they're playing for priority off of midway into River, which is going to make it a little bit more difficult for NASR to threaten this. But honestly, if I'm NASR, I don't think you need to fight this realistically. Like, you have Fabulous pushing in on top side. You can always rotate Patch or Scorth up to that top end to get that tier 2, even just trade it for the mid lane tower. And I think NASR actually end up in a winning position, even if they do give over the dragon.
Whistle using that clone to the best of effects.
They're going to fight.
Yeah, they're going to fight. Yeah, I know. I wanted to let you have your moment, and you guys are going to break it all down, what you would love to see, but that's not what we're going to see. We are going to see maybe a 5v5 in his mid lane. They're moving towards Marky, who hasn't got towards his Mega Nart just yet. Needs 1 or 2 more autos before he starts to build up that rage bar. Typhoon has to be the one to face check. They throw out the ultimate, it lands on the patch. They throw out a hook as well. Varo, very, very quick to kind of go for that one. Fabulous has to flash away. He doesn't really want to use his ultimate just yet. Poppycopter goes off and will spin off out of it, but the dragon hasn't been started just yet. They're going to jump straight onto Marky, but Marky, you're left by yourself. Why? Why, Marky? It's onto the Malphite, and now they can look for a re-engage onto this. The Pop Blossom goes into absolute thin air. They will lose the Rel while the rest of the team kind of follow up. It is NASR coming in, but what is going on? These two teams, it's a game of throw right now.
Yeah, I mean, for NASR, I actually really like the way they played. So they played back away from the initial engage from Movistar Riders. So Alvaro ends up getting shot down by it. Marky goes way too far forward, even engaging onto Fabulous. So we'll get the breakdown of it here, but the disengage comes through. You're going onto Fabulous, who's the tankiest member, which makes 0 sense in this one. But then as well, the Nico assumes that this ult from Patch is going to hit, or the knockdown for Patch is going to hit, which is why Whistle goes all in. So it can kind of like give him a little bit of a pass there, because it was kind of a hope for the follow-up on the Rel, but Movistar just a little bit too fast. But either way, NASR, they get 2 kills, they get the mid tower, they get the dragon, and now they're back out on the map as well with, I mean, you're looking at Xayah, 2.5 items. You've got nearly a second item coming through for Whistle as well. They are in such a good spot. They can just shove in mid, get that tier 1 or tier 2 in the top lane, because that's a stiff breeze from falling down. And even if you want to stick Whistle into that bottom lane, you can slowly but surely, with that mid lane tower down now, make sure that you're able to pick up that standing gold there as well.
And Scorth is so massive, 100% kill participation there on the Xayah, 4, 0, and 3, and really kind of making a name for himself. 2,000 gold is the difference. And I always say, components give you stats, item completions change how you play the game, and that's just exactly what's going to happen here. If he's able to get that 3rd item up and running far earlier than Supa, he's going to be able to play this game so much better, so much more relaxed, and kind of with the freedom of being able to put out that DPS.
There's not very much that NASR are doing wrong at the moment, to be honest. Like, setting up nicely in mid, defend the mid push as you look towards Fabulous to get control over this bottom side of the map. They are definitely looking for that tier 1 in the bot lane. But pick.
Yeah, little pick there, Supra. Flash for flash. Not quite able to catch up to him there, Whistle. Not really getting himself the full kind of setup, but that means you're no longer got full summoners here onto Supa. That could mean a Baron start, could mean a Baron, kind of take if the side of Movistar don't check this, and they thankfully have themselves a Scryer's Bloom, but they don't have many of those left.
Yeah, NASR trying to bait that there. They walked over the vision that was provided by the Scuttle Crab, knowing it was going to time out soon, so someone was going to have to check it. Now the TP in mid.
Yeah, they're looking for a double TP. It's going to be both top laners coming in, but Marky gets stunned up immediately, goes into Mega, but has to disengage. They throw out the ultimates, disengaging from everything. Alvaro trying to run away from this one here, but I think he's just dead. Fabulous picks up that one. You're going to have to use the Ari ultimate, the Spear Rush, just to disengage. And honestly, it does feel, as you said earlier, rock, paper, scissors. NASR just know how to fight this, and they know exactly when Movistar want to make plays, and they have the answers.
And there's your rock, Fabulous, immediately coming over the wall to pick off the Ari. And now NASR, they get to move over towards the Baron. 3 members from Movistar is alive, but you've already used your ultimate from Ismail. That's your big engage tool down. Marky desperately trying to farm up that Narbar off the mid lane, but NASR, they're baiting again.
Yeah, they're baiting it again, but this time around, they're not going to start it just yet. There is a Scryer's Bloom on the backside of this one here, so they will have full information of what's going on right now. Whistle trying to burn Marky down so much. Flash in on top of Supa. Remember, he doesn't have summoners. 5-man Meganar is massive, and they might actually be able to turn this one around. They're going to try and see if Marky can run away from this one. Marky might have actually stopped the Baron completely. That was massive.
Yeah, NASR going too far forward, hoping that they could get onto Supa, but with the missed stun coming through from Patch and the follow-up not quite being there, Marky with the Meganar gets a kill back over in favor of Movistar's, but as you say, crucially, stops the Baron from going over.
They might look for themselves. There is a top lane going in. Like you said, a stiff breeze or a couple of minions was enough to take that one down, and it keeps the team kind of play in favor of NASR as it kind of goes very scrappy all of a sudden. They're only ahead by about 1,300 gold or so, but let's have a look at the replay here, because again, just having the Ari get caught out here because he just goes a bit too far.
I mean, blind Fabulous goes over the wall, because the second he sees that Spirit Charm, he's just like, right, that's my spot, I'm going over. And then as they start to come in here, I don't mind the initial call from NASR to see, hey, look, maybe we can pick people off, but as this goes through, like Whistle goes forward to get decent damage onto Marky, Patch misses the ult, but then because everyone kind of forgets about Marky, the flash forward into the stun gives just enough damage then for Supa to pick off the support. And then a nice boulder from Marky as well slows down Squirts, which prevents him from getting the kill in return.
This game is getting scrappy right now.
Yeah.
I think if anyone were to describe this one as clean, they would be very much lying to you. But we come back into live. It's 30 seconds till the Chem Soul is spawning here for NASR. I think Movistar will be happy enough to let that one go. They don't need to contest this. They don't need to look for anything crazy. They've got all their ultimates back, but they're missing some key flashes.
I think Movistar trying to see if they can kind of take a page out of NASR's book here, go for that quick base, but you can see the TP coming through from Nico now to reposition. She was on that top side, but Movistar, I don't think you can just start this. The ultimates available are going to make this miserable for you.
It's on a bit of a flank. Marky getting up to Mega. They will land the Glacial Prism. It's on the patch. They won't land a hook. And Whistle sitting on a ward. They're not really respecting the amount of vision that could be in here from the side of Movistar. You did just forfeit a majority of it there, NASR, but they're not interested in the Chem Soul right now, and honestly, don't blame them. There's a charm into a roof. 4-man knock up here with the unstoppable force. Can the Pop Blossom land onto anybody? I don't think it matters. We don't even look at the Nico. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Both supports are dead. There's going to be the Spirit Rush to try and make something work. But I mean, both these teams just kind of trying to find and engage, and they go straight back to the Baron.
Yeah, NASR end up messing up the engage. They're waiting for the Mega Nerd to time out, but Patch doesn't get in. Fabulous goes in, but no follow-up from Whistle, and that means that Movistar are still relatively healthy as they're trying to see if they can flank out Sport.
Yeah, Marky gonna have himself the ultimate again if he wants to go for it this time. To get stunned up against the wall. The charm on the backside though is huge. Finally they get the ultimate off, and Supa goes straight back into the backside, shut down on the first death over to the side of Scorth. Now can they make this fight work? Fabulous trying to see if he can take down this 80 Karen. He should be able to do it. It's shut down 600 gold. It's so all over the place. Both these teams tooth and nail trying to find any advantage they can.
I mean, the fact you get that shutdown off of Scorth is huge though. 1,000 gold going into the hands of Frescowi. Like, that is massive for this Ari. And as well, Dragon now up and available. NASR immediately going to see if they can try and run over and pick up that soul for themselves. But you see it here. This is like consistently Movistar is playing off of this flank position with NASR having zero vision on it. And the Ari has been able to punish every single time. Like, immediately gets on Sport with the flash forward, then the Everfrost to prevent the follow-up ultimate from coming through. So by the time Sport lands, Supa's already there to collect. Sorry, the kill went over to Supa as well. So 1,000 gold onto this Kaisa is going to give them a nice little bit of a bounty coming into this next box.
Yeah, big way to kind of come back into this one here. But on the reset, you can see in the picture-in-picture is that it is going to be a Chem Soul now picked up here for NASR. So they will have that extra little bit of survivability as they go down below 50% HP. And I mean, honestly, the way these fights are going, that could be a key difference because these are going so weirdly close. How both these teams are trying to make it work. You do not have a flash available for your AD carry on score just yet. He's waiting about 20 or so seconds. They go back onto the Baron. Whistle still off to the side, but they haven't fully cleared out this vision. And you can see NASR feel comfortable just to move forward.
No real ultimates on score. This is massive.
There we go. The Keeper's Verdict comes in. The pop blossom lands on the 3. And finally, Scort gets to get on top of all these players. 3 kills goes over to him. You may kill me once, but you shall not kill me again. You still have Isma available. He could maybe go for a little bit of a miracle play. He has to steal this Baron.
Trying desperately. Isma, can you get over the wall? Trying to get the wrap here.
Looking for the wrap. They have full knowledge of him, and you can see exactly he's full HP and has himself a flash. Patch just makes sure he doesn't die. Whistle almost went down to the Baron. I believe he was tanking for a little bit more than he wanted, but 4 Barons, 3 kills. This is NASR looking to try and end this game.
Yeah, I mean, now NASR are in complete control, right? 9-1-6 on the Xayah. And I was super surprised that Whistle managed to get into such a good position because it's like, all right, Nico has no flash, has nothing really set up, but they all go in onto Fabulous, which means Whistle just able to barely get into position with that blast going over the wall, which sets up beautifully then for Squirt to come in and just finish everyone.
Yeah, really, really nicely done. Just kind of displacing everybody away. And I mean, look, it's still a 3-item Kai'Sa, but it's a 4-item Xayah. It's just a different level of carry available to the side of NASR. And again, still 100% kill participation, 9 kills, 6 assists. Just kind of disgusting, really, when you think about it, of how much this guy has been able to kind of carry his team. And we're looking like, again, most likely, NASR are going to be able to take a 2-0 over Movistar Riders in this group.
Which would be absolutely insane. Again, throwing this already bit of a mad group into more turmoil. It's just going to be a very interesting way to finish off this day. And NASR, like, give them their due. They have been playing absolutely fantastically here. Typhoon in the early stages, controlling Esma, keeping control over the bot lane for Squirt, making sure the Super could never really get into a position where he could step up as a big carry. And then as well, like, Whistle being able to find some success in these fights as well with the ultimates. They've been playing really well around just slowly but surely whittling down Movistar. And now with the Baron, they're grouped as 5. This could be a dive.
This could well be a dive. They are trying to put Fabulous behind enemy lines. He's fairly tanky there with the Jack Show and the Sunfire Aegis. It's going to be difficult to try and burn down these turrets as much as they would like. Only have Baron for another minute or so, so it's like 2 more waves. But for now, NASR taking it slow, taking it patiently as they look to try and crack open this base.
Yeah, I think for NASR, once you see the Mega Gnar, probably don't want to try and stick around too much in this bot lane, but now it's gone.
No, Tangle Barbs comes in, double knockdown, flash burnt there as Isma throws out the ultimate. That felt like it should have actually locked down Squirt. It doesn't really matter as no one was going to follow up on it now. You've lost a hell of a lot. 3-man knockup of the Unstoppable Force. They're looking to try and catch everybody out. The Pop Blossom does just that, and now they're cleaning up the kills. They've got themselves 2, but the most important thing is Supa is dead.
Yeah, now they've got all 5 members here on this bottom side. They can start to push on into this with Supa down and Isma as well. There's little that can kind of set up here. Marky close to Mega Gnar, but has no flash to try and get in on top of this.
Yeah, had to use it to disengage so he would be surviving into this next fight. Now, inhibitor down. They've got a little mini minion wave if they want to try and make this one work. The Everfrost does land, but it's on to Fabulous, who does flash away. I mean, Marky doesn't even get to breathe right there. As soon as he's caught out, he's done. And it looks like NASR going to make this group a hell of a lot more interesting. They go from 1-2. They start off with a win, and they will be going to 2-2. Movistar Riders just did not have the answers.
And a 2-0 win over Movistar Riders in the group as well, taking a very handy game against the Spanish representative. Like, this was incredible stuff from NASR. And I mean, second seed from the TCL, I think a lot of people are kind of surprised to see them go 1-2 to start off their journey into EMEA Masters, but taking this now, I mean, matching Movistar, well, actually, 2-2 with Movistar Riders, but definitely going to be ahead on game score. I mean, this is an incredible start, and even for Team Go as well. They're really very happy that a lot of their competition are kind of taking each other out.
I mean, everybody in this group was happy to see NASR win, to be perfectly honest. It means Unicorns are still only 1 game away from the top spot. Go are feeling pretty good, but I mean, look, it was a scrappy affair. It definitely was not clean by any stretch of the imagination, but I do agree with you. I think NASR were just far more comfortable with the pace of the game. They kind of just, kind of set up everything around it and said, look, you're not really trying anything, so that gives all the agency over to us.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was just how well they were able to control that bottom side, right? And especially when it came towards Typhoon reading what Isma was trying to do on the roam, like setting up a kill in that tri-brush to make sure that there was no real way that Isma was going to be able to affect that bottom lane. So Supa, I mean, you can see there, did his darndest when it came to damage, but just wasn't really going to be the case when you don't really have the position or the help that you needed to bypass this early game. And then as well, when you start to look towards the presence of mind that you had for this Zaya, absolutely popping the hell off. Scorth had a fantastic game.
Yeah, honestly, I still think he actually had 100% kill participation. There was only 3 kills, and I'm 99% sure he was involved in the last 3, because he definitely had 15. But, I mean, either way, he's getting close to 90, which for an 80 carry, if he comes out with 90 plus, I mean, he's done his job better than anyone could have asked him to.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, you can see as the game progressed, like there was a bit of back and forth on both sides where, yes, you had moments where NASR were looking good, Movistar were throwing, NASR also didn't look the finest at times, like positions like this, but you could see that consistently NASR were the ones that were coming out on top and just trying to push the advantages that they'd gotten from the early stages. And that was kind of the big one, was the fact that they were so good at punishing the mistakes that came through from Movistar. Like even like off the first play we saw was that overstay from Movistar in the bot side jungle that gave those early kills across, that kind of helped to open up this game a little bit from that bottom side, with Scorth getting that first kill for himself. So I think Movistar, definitely the punishment of the over-aggression coming back to bite them here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Supa as well, getting that big shutdown. Could have been the moment where he was able to kind of keep item parity, look at 3-item Kai'Sa and a 4-item Zaya. Yes, we talked about how big it is, but you can still do damage, and this is the big play that you were talking about. Around that Baron, yes, the Malphite loses his life, but it meant that he set up everybody else to do exactly what they needed to do, which was set up the Zaya.
Yeah, and again, like, you were consistently getting these big 3-man ultimates from Fabulous that was working out beautifully. And once you're in that position, like, how the hell do you try and get onto Scorth? Like, you're working through the Malphite ult, through the Nico ult, and that's kind of what we highlighted for the squad of Movistar, was just not really having much access to that backline unless you were able to win out in the early game.
Yeah, it was just Movistar looking a little bit kind of, you know, floundering like a fish on land. It just didn't really kind of come together for them. But they have plenty of games to go. They did, of course, lose to NASR in the first round robin. They lost again in the second, but they have 2 more games to go. We're going to send it to a quick break. And when we return, we're going to have UOL versus Go.